Welcome back on RealCopStoriesVideos.com. We're 370 cop stories. Please look them up. They're all my babies. I experienced 99 of them, 99% of them. A couple of them I saw, some I helped, but they're all my babies. Naked bodies, there's gross alerts. A lot of the Vice, all the Vice ones have gross alerts, and that's our most popular. Okay, so now, in addition to that, I'm doing question and answers. So there were 200 of those suckers. So if you ask me a question, email me at rsbcopstories@gmail.com, and I'll respond to you directly, and then I'll put it on video so everybody else can share your question. The question came up about the academy and how I got there and what I did while I was there. Now we're up to shooting. 4 weeks in, more or less. You give us our guns, and now we're going to start shooting. Okay. Talked about how great the instructors are. They had like 4 or 5 of those guys. They have a lot more there. They have shooting instructors that handle the shotgun range, half a dozen of them, if not more, with a couple of supervisors. They have instructors that handle the police officer, active officer shooting ranges, because officers had to qualify once a month. They're doing that. And that range runs pretty much until midnight every day of the week, because we're working a lot of shifts here. And then they have instructors that handle recruits training. It's probably the largest academy, because you have several classes going through the academy, and any given day you'll hear gunfire up there all the time, okay, because they're shooting. That range was built, incidentally, I think it's for the '38 Olympics. Okay, way back when the academy was pretty much open, and they put the range up there, and then they competed for the Olympics at that place. About the same years prior to the Olympics that the Coliseum was built. That's how old this place is up there. Been there forever. Okay, so now you're at the range, and there's 35 of us. They don't have 35 targets, so they have to go in like I think it's like 10 or 12, 3 shifts, you know. And where you're not shooting, you don't stand around. There's classes talking about law, continuing on about our scholastic things as the first 12 are shooting. Then when they get done, they come off, they clean their weapons real quick, and then the next group goes up. It's an all-day thing to shoot. Okay, and again, shooting is very important. Find out, real important. And the guns we have, if you're out there in video land, a lot of you buy these pistols, revolvers, you can cock them and then shoot them. Okay, we're not allowed to have those kind of weapons, because they had officers that would cock them and put them in his holster, and then he'd jump out of the car, fall, and the gun would go off. You can't be doing that. And naturally, when the gun goes off in an accident, guess who it hits? The officer. So so the department decided no. So they had armorers come in and cut off the sear. I think that's right. I'm not an armorer, but they said there's a sear in there that catches the trigger to cock it. You get rid of it. So now to shoot, you have to pull the trigger all the way back. The hammer goes back and then fires. That's how. So the only way you can shoot that gun. There's no accidental shootings. You had to pull the trigger, and you can't tap the trigger. I have an automatic weapon now that you just bring the trigger back a little bit and it fires. That's an auto. The revolvers, that thing has to go this much to fire it. So there's no such thing as an accidental shot. You fired it. They eliminated all this accidental crap. Okay. Subsequently, it makes it very difficult when you're trying to aim at a target. If you're the target, I got it like this. I'm squeezing the trigger. You see the hammer like this, because you know it's hard to squeeze and keep it steady. But you learn. You learn every day. Like I said, at night, I didn't show my mom. I was in my room studying, because you want to see me with a gun, and I'm sitting there, you know, all day long, click, 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 just to feel the spring and get the spring loosened up. So when I start shooting, because we're going to have a we're going to have a qualification at the end of the period to see what kind of medals you wear, and it makes sure, obviously, you have to be able to shoot to graduate. Okay, and even with all this training and shooting, we found in those days, and I'm sure it looks like the same these days, we only hit 15% of what you're aiming at. So we only have 6 bullets. So they're saying you're lucky if you get in a shootout, you're lucky if 1 bullet hits the guy or 2. That's how, yeah. And this is officers that are trained to shoot. You can imagine crooks where they're out there with autos and they're doing the 21 Jump Street thing, you know, they got the gun up sideways and they're shooting like this because they're criminals. They don't know what, but they hit officers, unfortunately, and that's what happens. The hit rate is very low. And what's even interesting about that, because we had officers come into our classrooms during the shooting instruction, these officers had been involved in shootings. Very interesting to hear these guys. We read about them, kind of like, not heroes, but they're icons. They're something, these guys have experienced this, and they'll come in and talk to you about shootings and what happened and what to think ahead of time, what happened at the shooting, what happened afterwards. And most of them told us the shooting was in 15 or 20 feet. That was the distance. Pretty short, okay? I mean, I've made putts at that distance, okay, in my golf game. So, what's that? What's that, 6 yards? 7 yards, okay, right? Something like that. So, very close quarters. Usually what it is they respond to a call, they walk up to the front yard and they get to a door and the guy jumps out with a gun and is standing right there. Or a traffic stop where you pull up a car and you're coming up, you park your car, you get out and you're walking up and all of a sudden he comes out with a gun. That's why it's short distances, because now this is different from guys that nowadays, unfortunately, last 4 or 5 or 6 years, that they have high power rifles and the officers pull up and they're sniping from 100 yards away. That's assassination. That isn't police shooting. That's horrible. But so you hear about this, you're like, oh my gosh, all these stats come out, and then they're telling you what they did, and very interesting to watch these guys. I call them heroes because they survived, they returned fire. Almost all the guys we talked to killed the suspects that were shooting at them. Some were Black Panthers, some were white. I think it was called Weatherman Underguard. I think Weather Underground. Very violent individuals. Okay, Patty Hearst in that group. The Symbionese Elimination Army. Horrible guys. And so these guys taught us, and I'm in awe of this. I was on when I was in the Marine Corps about talking about Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima and all these things at the Korea and the Chosin Reservoir, and I'm sitting there looking at these guys with my mouth open. I mean, been there, and they're very articulate. They're very down to earth. They're not instructors. Like, we get the instructors a little bit different thinking. These guys are street cops, and they're still working. They come in from their shift. Can you imagine? And some of them were sergeants, but they come in off their shift to talk to us, because it's important that to them to do that. I think it's important. Even then, I thought about it would be important for them to talk about it, for their mentality to kind of get it, a post-traumatic thing that now they call it now. And it's also important for them. They told us it's important for them to talk to us about it, because we have to have the mindset that even though you think this is nice and pretty, and I got a new police car and I got my wool uniform, I look bitching. Pretty much, the criminals out there are trying to find a way to shoot you and kill you. They don't care. 98% of the population, I would say half the population are indifferent to police. I think another quarter probably love the police. They're a small portion, and then again down to probably the 5 or 6% that just hate cops completely and want to kill them every time they see them. So they try to get you that mindset. This is important stuff. So that's part of the shooting classroom. Instructions, law, when to shoot, when not to shoot, what to do during the shoot, what to do during it. We had several. They had several towns, so to speak. There's one town, they have a set up town where you walk with the instructor sideways, and they have like shops, and you walk along and they have a loudspeaker going, radio call, man with a gun, and you're walking with the instructor behind you to make sure you don't shoot anybody. And no one can see you, because the other recruits are in another room, because they're going to go through the same scenario. And you'll walk along and you'll see a barber shop, and a target will flip up. It'll be a barber with a razor in his hand. Okay, yeah, okay. And you walk to the next one, target pops up, and it's pretty close. Again, it's about 20 feet away, okay? And they tell you not to put your gun out because you're just on a radio call, okay? First ones are radio calls. Then they go into man with a gun calls, more serious. But usually the first one's just a radio call, suspicious person. And you go to the next one's a store. They're all like windows and door frames, And next one, all of a sudden the target comes out. The guy's got a shotgun pointing at you. And that's when you have to fire, and then they check, see if you hit anything. That's what they're doing. And then it goes. Then you walk the next one. About 7 or 8 of these scenarios. You walk down, target flips, and a woman's got a bag with her. She got her hand out. She's got her wallet. It's quick, and they're right behind you. See what you're gonna do. Some guys shoot. Can't do that. Okay, can't shoot the bad guy or the good guys. Okay, so you get to the scenario, and they come back, and then they put your gun away, and then the instructor says nobody else around. That way it's safe. The instructor walks you through each scenario, and with a supervisor watching. This is good, you didn't shoot. This is good. Okay, you shot this one. Look where the bullet went over his shoulder. Okay. Oh, And why'd you only shoot once? I don't know. Well, you got to shoot more than once because, see, you missed. Okay. You fix the target, go to the next one. Then you go back. You do, and everybody does these scenarios. Imagine this is very painstakingly slow work here. So that's why you have classrooms next to it where you can study while this is happening so you don't waste time. Okay. So you do that. Then they have the next ones. The next city comes out. Next scenario is man with a gun call. And it's almost the same area, but you come out of different, they put different storefronts up and try to make it different as best they can. And so you come out and the same thing. Thing flips, it's a narco officer with a badge around his neck, and he's waving at you. It's fast. We've got a beard on, and you give a description of the suspect, beanie with a beard, and the narco officer has a beanie with a beard. Okay, yeah, they're doing that on purpose, okay? Better shoot paper now than hit someone where you're not supposed to, So then these are the old days. Remember now, and then when it came like in the 80s, they had all this inside of a bunkered building where you could do it electronically. With laser guns and all that stuff, which is a lot better. You can actually see where the bullets hit. You have red for a kill shot on the screen, yellow a wound, and green you missed, But this is before that. This is where you actually had to go out there and shoot your gun and do stuff. So very interesting. Very interesting. You get graded on it, and then they're going to do it again, like 2 days later, do it again. and they got your name. I mean, when they pull out a clipboard, your name is on it and what you did last time. No getting around it. I'm sure now they have everything electronic and everything's put on an iPad or whatever. And then you try it again. And of course they change the targets around and they change the situations, and you can see everybody getting better at it and better at it. And taking that half second to look at this problem and then shoot accurately. Because remember, this whole time that we're doing these situations with the pop-up targets, we're still at the range with round targets, practicing accuracy. And then some of the times I'll put sirens on real loud and people yelling and want you to shoot, because the real deal is you're not going to be at a shooting range shooting paper when the crooks come out with a bank robbery. It's going to be nasty. Sirens, people screaming, helicopter overhead, and they're trying to do the best they can to replicate that. So when you get out there, and believe me, when I went out there on these hot calls of bank robbery in progress, that's exactly what it's like. People running out of the bank, helicopters coming low, cops yelling at each other, got your shotgun out. This is the real deal here. So that's why they do that. It's pretty interesting, very interesting. And so we do that during the shooting. And then we're back in the classrooms. Now we're getting like about the second month in, coming up on the third month. Now there's like 30 of us in there, okay? We lost 5 guys. Doing more classroom, more law. Knock on the door, turn around. Smith, bring your hat and books. Oh my gosh, there he goes. Instructor, move up Smith's seat. In the row, guy behind him, move up. He's not coming back, okay? Backgrounds. They're finding something out in his backgrounds. And I know I was pretty clean cut, but I'm thinking, okay, I told him about that ticket. I had 1 ticket, told him about that. That's all I got. I don't have anything else. So, but you're worried. You don't know what your neighbor's going to say. I mean, what if neighbor doesn't like you? You can make stuff up. But they have investigators checking you for your background. So they're going to try to do it as best they can. And they're not trying to railroad anybody, not trying to put somebody in that shouldn't be in there. They're trying to pick the right people. Unfortunately, years later, we had a couple of instances where they hired corrupt officers and they stole some narcotics and made a big deal, big horrible situation there with the department. But again, the hiring is the key. Okay. So anyway, so back to the shooting. So now you got the shooting weeks, and pretty good. You get better at it, and then you're starting to. Everybody's losing weight. I remember I had a belt buckle that I must have had 4 notches already pulled because I was just dropping. It was pretty cool. I used to pick myself and 2 other guys out, tall, lanky guys that were kind of bigger than they should be. And I said, "How many notches today?" 3, sir. All right, because they're bragging because they're pulling those belts in. Of course, we were wearing khaki brown uniforms, not the police dark uniforms. And so you can see where it's around the weights, it's crumpling in because you're pulling the belt. And I felt pretty good about that. I was losing some good weight. I graduated what I call fighting trim, like 181 or something. I'm 6'4", so that's pretty good. It was all muscle. And my muscle moved around, but yeah, what are you gonna do? So anyway, so that's pretty much the first 2 months or 3 months. It kind of goes the same pattern all the time. Instructors get a little more, loosen up a little bit more, and then you start going into combat wrestling. Now, I'm a little early here to leave you, but this next segment is going to be a little bit, so I'm going to use it for the next one to show you about combat wrestling. Very interesting. It's going on here. Okay, so we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed this little segment. Bye bye.